Hello, my name is Kurt. This is Bryce, and we're going to demonstrate how to assemble a 40-foot split Hopkinson pressure bar. We'll start with the base. So the first step would be to plan out where your system's going to go in your shop or your lab. So ideally, you'd have 50 inches or greater of clearance on all sides of your bar. So here we're just going to mark it out on the floor, and then we'll snap a chalk line to where the edge of our system will line up on. All right, at this point we'll take off the access covers so you can access our 4 bolts that hold our adjustable feet to our leg base. That way we can use these jack bolts to level this first system out, or first section out. Here, and we're just going to loosen these up. And then you can put them back with your finger just so it's finger tight, which still allows this to move up and down when you play with the jack bolt. You don't want it too loose, otherwise that foot will fall away on you. Do that on both sides of each leg. All right, so we'll loosen up the nut here. And now, at this point, if we go up and down with the jack bolt, it makes the leg and the whole base go up and down. So at this point, our legs are ready to be adjusted, and we're going to pull out our machinist level, and we'll put it on the flat surface that's wiped clean of any debris. And I have one going in each direction. So we're going to start here and start adjusting the jack bolts. We'll try to leave the jack bolts on this first section about halfway in between. It's a 3-inch jack bolt, so you have a lot of play for the floor that may go up and down. And we're just keeping an eye on the machinist levels as we come up with this side. So we know this section of the bar is flat and level in both directions. We'll move to the other side. Okay, right there. Now we'll just check a few spots down the bar. So now we have our first section straight on our line. We've leveled it off using the machinist levels and the jack bolts. And now that we know it's set and we like it, we'll go ahead and tighten all of our feet back to our legs and lock down the nuts on our jack bolts. And this one will be set and good to go. So now we'll grab the next section and we'll demonstrate how to use our dolly system. Let's say if you didn't have enough room in your lab to set your 10-foot sections at the fork truck. Come down nicely with the fork truck. It'll now be on the dollies, and we'll be able to roll it around pretty easily. So for shipping purposes, we put these bolts that will eventually bolt these beams to the leg over there. We'll just take them out so that we're ready to use them when we land it. All right, so now with 2 people, you can move the 10-foot section pretty easily. And it's good to even pull off our bracket right here, so when our bar comes down in, it doesn't jump over that. It's just easier to take it off right now. And now we can get our brackets that were put here for shipping. We can take those off and just get them off to the side and get them ready. So now we'll bring the jack underneath, a long neck bottle jack, and we'll demonstrate how to take it off of our dollies using the jack. Our dollies are quite high off the ground, so we'll step it down onto a 4x4 and work it down like that. It's always a good idea to make sure our base is clear. This time we'll just come all the way till our beams are touching our leg. Now we'll bring the jack back to the other side and lower it all the way to the floor. That minor gap in there, so we'll bar that into it using our pry bar. A little more, Bryce. Good. So we'll leave the same gap here as we have at all of our other plates. We could take our temporary leg off right now. Eventually, when we're ready, we'll tighten our bolts from our leg to our beam at 90 to 100 foot-pounds. So we're leaving all this loose right now until we get it straight. Once we're straight, then we can lock everything down. At this point, I can hook this up and get it out of my way. You can release this here and put any extra cord, hide it into our power strip. Now we'll take our string line, and I put a bolt down here just to start the string line with. And we're gonna run a string line against all the keys and on both sides. And you can hook up the string line wherever it's convenient. Now we'll run it down the other key on both sides. It's not really important how you end up securing your string line, assuming you have it tight and it's on both sides of each key. Now we can take note on where we're at. So from this point right now, we're independent, right? Yep. So we can knock around each beam so that our key just slides nicely in. So we know our alignment is nice when our key drops in nicely. So at this point we have the only thing snugged up at this joint right now is these bolts holding the keys. So now we're going to double check our alignment again of the whole system and before we lock down the rest of it. So we know that this one's level and flat. We want to now make that leg level and flat before we lock it down. We know that the keys went in nicely, the string looks real nice, and at this point we can lock our beam to our leg on the bottom side and everything else. So now we want to level this leg, bring it up level with the first system, with the first 10-foot section, excuse me. We'll lock everything down on this 20-foot section now, so we know we're level and straight. Yeah. So a sanity check, we know we're straight. So I snugged up those bolts and I'll tighten them to 90 to 100 foot-pounds. So we'll finish locking down everything before we move on. Locking everything down here before we move on. There's a 1/8, you need a 1/8 Allen wrench, and it's a dowel that will help line up these rails really nice. So a set screw in there, I loosen the set screw, now I'll go ahead and tighten it again. This top one doesn't have much play in it. We'll lock that down. This still has a little play in it. That one's tight. Important to make sure that before you move on to your next 10-foot section, that everything is indeed locked down and straight and level. Otherwise you end up chasing your straightness and your levelness down the road if you don't make each section straight and level with the previous one. All right, so on these joints, it's important that you can take one of your stands and ride it over the joint like this, and it's nice and smooth and there's no clicking. Every now and then you'll run into a joint between two 10-foot sections where you get a pretty good click. So at this point, we'll want to put a shim in to make it nice and smooth again. So this side was high, it was clicking when it went over that side. So I'm going to take a 2/1000 shim I cut from some shim stock here. I'm going to put it on the high side. Go ahead and put my key back in. Tighten my key back down and check it. It may be somewhat of a guess and check. That time I got it right immediately. So I put a little shim under the high side, tighten the key back down, and now we're nice and smooth over our joint. We're just prepping this side, getting it ready for the next 10-foot section. Cleaning it off. I'm about to start the process all over again. So our area is nice and clean. We know that that's all locked down straight, nice, ready to go. We don't have to worry about that anymore or go back and fix anything. We know it's good to go. On this one, we'll demonstrate how to place it with a fork truck, which is much quicker if your shop has the available room to operate your fork truck instead of using the dolly system. Nice. Our final check on this, we run our stand over the joint. They're nice and smooth. This one didn't need a shim. This one needed another shim like the previous. So I shimmed the high side, put the key back in, and now it's nice and smooth again. At this point, we're all locked down. The whole 30-footer is nice and straight and level, and we got one section to go. So we'll put in the last section now. All right, we about wrapped it up here. We got the bar nice and clean now. We got our power strips all hooked up and our 20-foot cord, our whip, attached here, going to our power on our wall. The base is nice and flat and level, and we're ready to populate the top of the bar.